Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Blake the Book Eater, and today I'm here to talk to you about a new favorite book, and that book is The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. Now, before we dive into the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you to my channel if you would like to see more bookish content. And without further ado, let's get into it. So The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson is a Sapphic sci-fi novel. And yeah, it's a Sapphic sci-fi novel. And there you go. It follows Kara, who is a traverser. And a traverser is someone who is somebody who is sent to explore parallel Earths, because in this world, the multiverse has been discovered, and the world that Kara lives in is divided into two parts, really. You have Ashtown, where she was from, where she grew up. It's kind of impoverished. There are like runners and kind of like a warlord who kind of controls the area and keeps it under his thumb. And then just outside Ashtown, we have Wiley City, which is this like massive, futuristic, walled city where the rich people live. So already you have this kind of dichotomy between the rich and the poor, and the classism is ever present throughout this novel in such a beautiful way. But so Kara has kind of found her way into Wiley City and has made herself useful as a traverser. And the reason she's so useful is because you cannot traverse to other worlds where your DOP is still alive. And because Kara has had such a hard life, she is dead in hundreds of worlds. And so that's the kind of heartbreaking premise to this novel. And also, trigger warning, there is kind of very graphic depictions of domestic abuse. Not sexual assault, but just violence. And so if you are sensitive to that, please be aware going in that this does deal very heavily with domestic abuse. So we have Kara, who is able to traverse to all these worlds, and she's sent on missions. And I don't really want to say much more because the twists and turns in this novel are phenomenal, and I don't want to spoil any of them, but let's just say this is a wild ride. And so, like, I'm just gonna finish up my non-spoilery section by saying I think this book is really amazing. Micaiah Johnson has created a novel and a plot that is so special and unique, and I think this is a story that a lot of people will really find and love, because it rides the line of being like a hard sci-fi novel and also like kind of like a beginner like sci-fi novel, where if you are kind of new to science fiction, I feel like you could easily jump into this world, because Micaiah Johnson doesn't get too technical with all the kind of like hard science, and so like you can kind of have it like fly over your head a little bit. Because the story and the characters are at the heart of this novel and at its center. So if you're like worried about it being like too much world building, that kind of stuff for you, I promise, like, this is very easy to get into and you will not regret taking this journey. And so I gave The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson a 5 out of 5 stars, because just as I was reading this book, I was falling in love more and more with it with every single page. And it's rare that a book like will do that, just because it's so magical and beautiful, and I just cannot. I need more of Micaiah Johnson's writing in my life, and so I highly recommend this book. Okay, we're gonna have a little spoilery section where I talk about all the spoilers in this novel. So if you have not read this book, goodbye. Please come back after you finished it. And if you have read this book, please stay and we can discuss. So the one thing that I really want to talk about is the romance. Kara and Dell's romance, I thought, was pitch perfect. It was so subtle and so layered, and I loved it so much, especially when you find out that, because, you know, the first big twist in the novel is that Kara Minta is dead, and the Kara that we know is Kara Lee. And that was just, like, that was a great twist. And then second, like, just knowing that Kara Minta had kissed Dell and, like, rejected her, and then after she had died and Kara Lee took her place, that she was, like, teasing her and, like, and that just, like, tortured Dell, and that's why she was so standoffish towards Kara. That was, like, so amazing. Like, that's such a subtle and great reveal, and also just seeing their relationship develop throughout the novel from kind of like this cold standoffishness to, like, the warmth, and then just, like, the beauty that was this ending. Like, it just made me cry, actually, because of how emotional it made me, because just, like, I love stories of, like, people finding each other throughout, like, different worlds, different times, and this just hit that button for me. It's a very specific trope and a very specific button, but this book pressed it, and I loved it so much. Especially when you knew that, like, on so many other worlds, Dell had approached Kara first and initiated a romance, and then that Kara thought that, like, this Dell would never do that with her, and that she was so, like, looking down on her because of where she came from, and just it was so heartbreaking, and just so good, and just the character development. And okay, now we're going to talk about dichotomy. Sorry to switch the subject so fast, because I'm going to cry if I keep talking about that. So my favorite thing about this book was just how much the first half really puts you into the mindset that Ashtown is, like, this really rough place. Like, you know, you have Nick, who has abused Kara on many, many worlds and kind of rules Ashtown to varying degrees, with fear. And it's, like, this place that the Wileys are afraid of, and blah, blah, blah. But then the best twist in the book is when you realize that Adrenic in World 175 is actually Adam. And so when we come back to Kara's world, everything makes sense, because Micaiah Johnson was building up that Ashtown is this, like, dangerous place. And then you realize the same is true for Wiley City, because you have a ruler very much similar to Nick, who kind of rules with an iron fist and, like, does whatever the fuck he wants, and he does it in, like, a more classy way, I guess, in the same way that, like, in our world, people get, like, stronger jail sentences for, like, marijuana crimes than they do for, like, white collar crimes. So it's like, the rich people can, like, afford to break the law, and the same is very much true in this, when you have Adam going to, like, make a campaign where he's going to murder thousands of people just so, like, rich people can, like, go be tourists. I just hate the classism in this book was so intense, and I just really loved that Micaiah Johnson built those parallels, not only between the parallel Earths, but also between Ashtown and Wiley City itself, and then we got to see that change throughout the different parallel worlds. And it was just, it was writing that was so nuanced and layered and so well done, and just I was wowed, like, the whole time, because a lot of the times I can see, like, twists coming, but, like, a lot of the twists in this book really just kind of took me by surprise, and not as in, like, I didn't see that coming, but as in, like, that makes perfect sense, why did I not think of that? And I love when authors are able to do that for me, because it just blows my mind, and they're perfect. And this book, honestly, I feel like was pretty perfect. It was a little slow in the middle, I will say, and there was, like, I think a bit too many peripheral characters at certain times where, like, I kind of got them mixed up in my head. But honestly, by the end of the book, it all kind of ironed out, it made sense, and I fell in love with, like, pretty much everybody in this book. And they didn't feel like characters, they felt like people. Like, they acted in brash, brazen ways, but were very honest to, like, who they were as people, and it was very honest, and I really loved that about these characters in this book, and I just loved this book as a whole. I really did, and I highly, if you've made it this far, you've probably read the book, and if you haven't, why did you spoil yourself? You should You should go read this book. But yeah, sorry I've been gushing for so long, but like, yes, this book was amazing, and yeah, please go read it if you haven't, and if you have, please tell me down in the comments below what you liked about the book, what you loved about the book. If you didn't like the book, please let me know as well, because I like hearing different opinions. So with that, I think we're gonna bring this video to a close. Stop my rambling, but that was my review of The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson, and I am very, very excited to see what Micaiah Johnson has planned in the future, because she's now an auto-buy author, and I will buy anything that she writes. So don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, give this video a thumbs up, and share it with your friends who have also read Space Between Worlds so we can cry about Sapphic sci-fi together. And I'll see you next time. Bye.